Hello, I'm Mark Cuevas, and this is New Media Weekly. I have the pleasure of speaking with Jeff Koenig, who is the creator and founder of OMFGeek. Tell me about the state of new media as you see it.
We're at a point that's very much unlike, in a lot of ways, any other avenue of entertainment production that's come before us. And in a lot of ways, we're following a lot of very set paths. The main difference is everything's happening faster and it's moving faster. There's been more change in this space in the 5 years that I've been in it than happened probably in the first 20 years of television.
Right.
That said, there's a huge parallel between a lot of previous medias that I don't think most people pay attention to. I don't want to say most people, but I think that there are people who are ignoring that fact that there is a precedent for all this, as new as it is.
What do you feel that precedent is?
Well, I think, for example, there's a lot of parallels between the way that new media has progressed and the start of the cable industry. If you look at the way cable started, as they were building viewerships, one of the first things they were into is licensing syndicated content, which is exactly what Netflix and Hulu and other sites are doing. They started original productions on a very small scale. And if you had told someone 15 years ago that AMC and HBO were going to be creating the best original programming on TV, they would have looked at you like you were crazy.
Right.
But eventually, you know, people branched out and started doing their own original productions, and now it's a completely different scene in cable than it started out. And I think we're going to have a lot of parallels. We already do. I think that we're paralleling cable very much, just at a much faster pace.
I can see that. There are obviously the large-scale networks, YouTube. There's the smaller ones that I think Blip is actually, in my opinion, I would liken that closer to, say, HBO.
Blip is a very interesting kind of example. I don't know that I would call Blip HBO. I think if you're going to make an HBO comparison, it's probably something closer like My Damn Channel.
Sure.
Blip is a huge network. It's not YouTube huge, but they're doing well in excess of 100 million views a month. They just recently crossed 1 billion views a quarter. Now, YouTube does 4 billion views a day, but 1 billion views a quarter is highly significant, and what impresses me about Blip is that for 6 years they've built that specifically on serialized content. If you go to blip.tv looking for a cat video, you won't find any unless it's a cat video web series.
Right. They've really focused on having the producers create storylines, and they've encouraged the production value. It's really a place where people have been able to find a voice and a face for what's becoming the higher end of web series. And
I don't think that's I don't think that's a coincidence. Blip's made some very, very smart hires over the years. Eric Mortensen, who's the head of their content, is a big believer in independent producers and independent productions, and does a great job informing the producers how to maximize and leverage the Blip as a platform. They pay higher CPMs and a higher rev share than any other platform that's out there. And in the last couple of years, they've added some significant talent. And all of those people are working with the independent creators directly, trying to help them improve their shows.
now, along that line, do you feel to that end that Blip and YouTube are the end game for media producers?
I don't think Blip and YouTube are the end game at the moment, because Blip and YouTube are primarily revenue share platforms that pay creators based on a percentage of the ad revenue generated by the ads that run on the site in between around the content. Ad rev is only part of the equation. It's just one small part of the answer as far as revenue streams, and I think that now, 6 years in on both platforms, we're starting to realize that it's going to take more than that. With very few exceptions, especially higher production value shows are not sustainable on a rev share model. So you have to be able to use diversified revenue streams, and I think ultimately the big box platforms with thousands of shows and millions or hundreds of millions of videos, they will always attract large audiences and have value, but I think boutique destination sites like a My Damn Channel are definitely play a big part in the future.